Alrighty, what's going on, boys? Belton here, back with another little video. Over the past few days, I've been testing out a variety of different crafting things and some currency techniques to generate money, and this is one of the cooler ones I've come across. You'll see by the title here, it's called the Infinite Base Hack. Now, I use the term hack jokingly. This is not a hack by any sense, but it is something that is incredibly effective. It combines a variety of different techniques, some of which you're probably all familiar with. However, the way that they sort of symbiotically interact was something that I had never done before, and it was something that ended up being very, very, very lucrative as a result. So you can see here in the subtitle, this is how I made 7 mirrors of profit in 3 days using overlapping series of crafting techniques. So what's the aim of this strategy and what problem does it solve? So what we're going to be doing here is creating double corrupted items that are highly sought after, very expensive, and we're going to be doing this at a fraction of the sale price. We're going to do so with a high degree of regularity at a fraction of the cost the open market charges for the difficulty or RNG. We achieve this by increasing our likelihood of desirable outcomes astronomically by item level restricting our uniques. Creating unique items en masse that are item level restricted in a way that the market at large is unaware of. The primary problem being solved in this video and with this method is the supply of low item level uniques, which we can do infinitely with this method. So if you watched my previous video with respect to the greeds using the body card to get item level 2, this is kind of a continuation on that, and it solves, I think, the key issue that many people had, including myself, in a way that's pretty neat. So for the video here, as you can obviously tell, I've made a little slideshow just to keep me on track. So this is just going to be sort of the plan for the video. So I prepared a photo slideshow where I can demonstrate the methodology and explain along with photos to accompany the verbal explanations. I'll show you proof of sales before beginning so that you can see this is not just theoretical. I actually did make 7 mirrors of sales. And at the end of the slideshow, I prepared the math to support the content of the slideshow so that you can see it in case, my rhetoric is not convincing enough. And after discussing the idea and concept, I will demonstrate it in game for those who want to see it live. Sometimes that takes a while, sometimes that happens quickly, but we'll cover the bulk of things right off the onset here. So starting off with the proof of sales, here you can see we've got the 1.1, 1.2 mirrors. We got another mirror here. Another 1.1, 1.2 mirrors here, another mirror here, another mirror here. I think it's about 600 divs there. And here we're covering similar to the last video, just to restate that, by changing it to item level 2, which is the lowest you can get. We can see here that the only 5 options for corruptions are life percent, ES percent, damage percentage, phys damage reduction while stationary, and +1 gems. And the big ticket item that we're going for here is the +1 gems and 50% damage. So some other information that's important to just to cover. Greed's Embrace is what we'll be covering in this video, similar to the last one. However, it should be stated that this can be done across a variety of different bases. It by no means is just limited to this. And you'll understand that shortly. However, within the context of Greed's Embrace, what we want to know here is that Greed's Embrace, as you can see, is a tier 4 unique. It also has a minimum item level of 56. Now this is important because this means that you cannot ancient orb it, right? So if you have an item level 2 chest by turning in the body over and over and over, you're not going to be able to use an ancient orb to get Greed's Embrace, as it will require a minimum item level of 56. However, the fact that it's a tier 4 unique is relevant because that means that it's quite common. We can see here that if we are to use a mythic orb actually has a 40.1% chance, so roughly 1 every 2.5 mythic orbs if you're to use it on just a golden plate. We can see here that the only golden plate base armor that is unique is Greed's Embrace. I think there's actually the Cratchit Crab, or Cratchit Crab, the boss from the bestiary, the crab boss, I forget his name, I think it's Cratchit. He actually has a golden plate as well, I believe. However, because it's a boss drop, it does not affect the global pool. So the only unique item, insofar as we're concerned here, is Greed's Embrace for the golden plates. So the first part of this, sort of, as I said, a continuation of the previous video, is the way that we're going to get these low-level greeds initially is through the body. You can also do it through, Jack in the Box or the Void or whatever, but this is probably the easiest way to do so. It is kind of irritating. It's about a 1 in 25. If you turn in 25 sets, you'll roughly get a greeds. Another way to do this too is just to buy an item level 2 base off someone. I have dozens of them. So this is somewhat of an irritant to get going, but once you have at least one greeds, we're going to see the hack come into place, so to speak. And it alleviates many of the concerns that some people articulated and some frustrations that I felt when doing the body strategy from the previous video. So what is kind of core to this, as you can see here, we've got the rare golden plates. So these are bricks, right? So these are greeds and braces that we took to the temple, and they were turned into rare items. And these are actually very important, and because this is actually the sort of crux of what we're going to be doing here. We need to get at least one of these item level 2 golden plate rares. Now, what we're going to do after is just buy 4 golden plates of any item level. So you can just go on the trade site, search for golden plate, make sure that they're rare because we want them all to be the same quality. So obviously, since the bricked greeds is a rare, we need 4 rare golden plates. And again, item level is irrelevant here. What we're then going to do is sell that to the vendor, making sure that the greeds is on the far left. And you'll see here that we are getting back an item level 2 clean base. Now, what we're going to do right after that is get a fractured fossil, or you can do this with a Fenimal Plagued Arachnid, either way. The fractured fossil is much faster, and you also don't have to worry about rares and stuff. I'd suggest doing it this way. And then we are going to split the golden plate. As you can see, we now have 2 item level 2 bases. And this is the cool part. Now, we have used the 1 bricked greeds to make a rare, which we've then combined with 4 other rares. You can actually split 2 rares if you want to, if you're being lazy. I actually did that quite often just because it's irritating buying golden plates off of the trade site. They're only like 5 or 10 chaos, but obviously at this point in the league, and in particular, given how much money most people have, the response rate for something that cheap is rather low. So we split that base, right? Now, what we're going to do is repeat the process with one of the splits. And you'll see that it gives us back another golden plate, and it will be clean. So that means that we can split a base, right? Which will give us 2 bases. Then we put 1 away, and then we take another one of the splits and put it with 4 new clean ones, and we get a brand new clean base. And we repeat that process over and over. This will allow you to infinitely create item level 2 golden plates. Now, because greeds is a tier 4 unique, and because it is the only golden plate unique, if we chance and scour these, that means that the only thing that it can turn into is a golden plate. And again, because it's a tier 4 unique, it is quite common. From the about 100 of these I made, it's approximately 1 in 250 chance plus scours. Now, after we make the greeds, what we're going to do then is get 2 clean greeds just off the trade site, any roll, cheapest ones that you can, just make sure they're not corrupted. And make sure that you put the item level 2 greeds on the far left, as we have right here. And then we're going to use this basically as a de facto divine orb. So we want to get a roll that has at least 15 quantity, and ideally above 40 rarity. 45 and higher is obviously much better, but 15 and 40 was basically the threshold or the bottom line that I was going for. And because it can roll 10 to 15 and rolls 35 to 50, obviously if you're going to use divine orbs, that can add up very, very quickly, in particular because I tend to do this en masse, so like 20, 24, 36, 40 of these at a time sometimes, right? You might be talking 250, 300 divines if you're actually using divine orbs. Now, purchasing the greeds can be kind of irritating. I actually tasked this process out to people, so I was just like, if you go buy me a bunch of greeds, I'll pay you 5 divines to buy me 50 of them or whatever. And people had no problem with that. Although, to be fair, they were probably just trying to help me out more than they were trying to make the money. But either way, it is kind of frustrating or irritating purchasing these. You can always just divine them manually. It is still very, very profitable if you do so. But if you're trying to, not pinch every penny, but be frugal and get the most out of it, this is the most cost-efficient way to do so. Another thing, sorry, that I forgot to mention, before we split the item level 2 bases, because they're item level 2, they can't naturally get 6 sockets on them, right? So we have two options. Either we can go to the crafting bench and we can just manually put on the 6 socket and then we split it after. Now that way we have two 6 socket bases. Or you can use the omen of, I think that's not omen of connections. It's, here, sorry, I got them right here. Omen of the Jeweler. Omen of the Jeweler. Now, if you use Omen of the Jeweler, at item level 2, the most amount of sockets that it can have is 3. So if the chest already has 3 sockets, the Omen of the Jeweler will not work because it's already at the max sockets. However, to get around that, all you have to do is go to the crafting bench, make it 2 sockets, and then use a single Jeweler with the Omen, and it will go to 6 sockets. What we're going to do after that, and this is obviously once we have the greeds, that's at least 1540. We want to put on the this enchant here, 3250 life force. MF builds tend to struggle with lightning res just because of the uniques that they use. The balance of resistances is one that favors cold and fire, and so putting this enchant on there, it'll give you an extra 14 lightning res on a finished chest. And the cost that it adds is very, very minimal. However, the strength that it provides is actually quite strong. And the market, I would say at most times when I was selling these, there were usually somewhere between 3 to 7 of the same chest. So a Greed's Embrace that had +1 gems, damage percentage, 15 quantity, and 40 rarity or higher, usually between 3 to 7 for sale at any given time. The reason why, obviously I didn't do a straw poll or anything, but mine were quite often the ones that would sell the fastest. I did competitively price them. I would always put them at the lowest in the market just because my margins were so high. However, this is something that, again, it does make a substantial difference and it'll make it stick out. Now, the next stage to this, of course, after you do the corruption, all you need to do is go to your crafting bench and you want to go to the 4 link sockets area here. And then we're just going to use the tainted fusings. So if we go 4 link sockets, use the tainted fuse. If it goes to 5 links, then of course use the tainted fuse again, try to get 6. If it drops below 4, it'll be cheaper just to use the bench craft to put it back on. When it's corrupted, it'll also add 5 vol orbs. So it'll be 5 vol and 5 fuse. And then of course, what we're using for corrupting these is the Locus of Corruption. That is the temple that we're looking for. And just to give you a little overview here, this was from earlier on today when I put the PowerPoint together. So you can see here that these chests that we're mentioning, they start at 1 mirror, 1.1 mirror, 1.2 mirrors, etc. So here's some of the math quickly. 250 chance is 0.15 div, scours 0.8, 3250 primal life force 0.9 divs, jewelers 0.1, divining, quote unquote, each chest with degrees is about half a div each. The temples are 4 divs. So that means approximately 6.5 divines per prepared, 15 IIQ, 40 plus IIR, enchanted I level 2 greeds. Now, the probability to hit, sorry, I forgot to mention this as well. The probability to hit the damage and +1 is 1 in 40. So 1 in 40, which would mean 40 times 6.5, that would be 260 divs. And at a bare minimum, you're getting, I think, since I wrote this, the price of mirrors actually went up. I think they're about 920 divines now. But just on that basis alone, you're almost quadrupling your money. And again, that's only from the one chest that's coming in, the 1 in 40. Anytime that you get +1 gems, which will be approximately once every 5 corruptions, once every 6 corruptions, perhaps, those also sell for, at bare minimum, usually 80, 120, 150 divs. And those alone actually will cover your costs. So yeah, over 3 days, I made over 7 mirrors doing this. It was actually rather easy. And just, yeah, on the bottom here, I just covered that again. The +1 gems or damage percentage are 1 in 10. The other options are life percent, ES percent, and reduced damage while standing still. And so there's the PowerPoint covering all of the substantive information. And now I will show you the stuff in a more practical sense here. Oops, sorry, I got a couple trades here. Oh, all right, looks like I missed those. Okay, so as you can see here, We have a couple of these rare bricked golden plates. These would have been from when we had those initial body cards, right? And the next thing we have here are a bunch of golden plates, just random item levels. We got 77, 79, 85, 84, and 80. As I mentioned, I like to, simply because I am lazy, I like to actually split these as well, because it just gives us twice as many. And the fractured fossils are only like 30 chaos each. And so we now have a variety of different bases there. And the one thing is when you use a fractured fossil, it actually makes an identical copy. And so you got to make sure that you do what I just did there and then scour Alk or just Chaos Orb them. Otherwise, they will be the exact same rare. And if you try to recipe them, it'll give you a Chance Orb. So after we do that, what you would do then is take 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we take one of the rare Greed's Embraces, as I mentioned. So we go item level 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we get an item level 2 golden plate. Okay. And this one has 2 sockets on it. So this is a prime opportunity for us to use the Omen, as I mentioned. There we go. It bypasses the link or the socket maximum for its level. And then we are going to split it. Now we have 2 of the split plates, right? And so then we can add those over here to our Chance Scour pool. If I wanted to, again, I could just use the that item level 2 chest. We'll just do this to demonstrate it, just so you can see that it's the same thing. But because it's 6 socket, I'm not going to. So we take the item level 2, put it on the left, and as you can see here, it would give us another golden plate, which would be clean. And again, this solves the problem that was, really dragging down the previous strategy in terms of replicability and being able to, do it over and over again, en masse, which is often a pretty important factor when you consider these, RNG kind of oriented strategies. Similar to a casino, right? The house always wins as a matter of mathematical certainty over time because of net favorable outcomes. And it's in that same spirit that we approach these. Okay, so here you can see we got this item level 2 chest and it's clean, right? But you'll see here, if I try to do this, if I try to use a jeweler's orb, it'll say item already has the maximum number of sockets. So what we're going to do is type 2, change it to 2 sockets, and voila. And there we go. 2 more 6-socketed item level 2s. Because I have done so many of these, I have a very steady supply of the golden plates. As I mentioned, though, it is not. So you can see here, I've got, what is that? This goes, 3 down. So that's 8, 7. I still have 17, 18, 19 of those. But it's not necessary. You literally only need to have one of them because it splits into 2, right? You can just use the same, you kind of catalog or put away one of the splits, and then you can use the other split. Since it gives you a fresh copy each time, you literally only need one. For myself, of course, we're not going to do that, especially because they are 6 socketed already. So we'll do a couple more of them here. Item level 2. Item level 2. This is one that we've got to reduce again down to 2 sockets. Clean up this tab a little bit. I find it best to do these, as I mentioned earlier, en masse. It's really just a matter of clicking. It's it's definitely not super fun to do this over and over and over again. But at the same time, the margins are just so nuts. When you do a big tab like this, like, 20 or 30 of them at once, especially in a quad tab, you just, you can do like this, right? And just drag the chance down like that. And if it doesn't do anything, just grab these scours and go like that. And I find that to be, first of all, far less, taxing on your hands and fingers, but also, on your psyche too. This can be a little bit. I'm reminded of the, if you guys remember Lance. Lance had a video. I think it was during Crucible League where people wanted to chance and scour, Aegis's and that other shield, Emperor's Vigilance, and Lance made a video about how he spent like 12 hours and like 30,000 chance and scours trying to get Emperor's Vigilance. It was just a whole lot of copium, it sounded like, but not that this is Schadenfreude or anything like that, but just had that thought quickly. Now, to highlight my point here, I actually went ahead. Do not do this. This is not cost efficient. I actually went ahead and bought an Omen of Fortune, just so that for the purposes of demonstrating this, you guys wouldn't have to wait. So there you go. So imagine that we just did the chance scour there. And as you can see, we now have the level 2 Greed's Embrace. We actually have another one right there as well. And so one of the last things we need to demo here. Here we see we've got item level 70 and item level 85, right? And this is just how we're going to kind of pseudo-divine them. So the item level 2 goes on the left side, make sure, right? And then we get it back and it's 1343. That's not good enough. As I mentioned, I did get one of my buddies, shout out to Zax, giving me a hand picking these up here. You can see my buddy grabbed a bunch of these for us now. So what we're going to do, again, the item level 2, 1, 2, 1539. That's kind of right on the border there. We'll do the other one first, just in the meantime. $13.43. $11.47. $12.49. In fact, let's put it in there. $11.40. $10.33. $14.43. So even though we've had to use a bunch of chests here to get this, right? You have to keep in mind that, oh, $15.47, beautiful. So every time it's either use 2 chests or use a divine orb, right? And if we're looking at the cost of these, 2 chaos each. So spend 5 chaos or spend a divine, depending on what your your currency situation's like. Perhaps that might be a good trade-off for you, but I think for the majority of people, it's probably in their best interest to take the time to do it like this. 1532. For the chancing as well, I've actually at one point, because I'd done like I think 50 of them straight, I got a little not frustrated, but obviously a little burnt out on chance scouring. So I put up like a prize pool, not a prize pool, but I was like, for every for every greeds that you chance scour, and again, it's only 1 in 250, so it doesn't take very long if you're only doing like 1 or 2 of them, right? If you're doing like 40 of them, it's a little bit more of an undertaking. But I just got like 5 guys from chat and from guild to come, and every time that they chanced, god damn it, 1530, every time they chanced a I gave them the chance and scours, but every time they hit a greeds, I would pay them a divine for it. There actually was a time last week when the Omen of Connections was somewhat viable to do this as well. They were only about 8 divines each, and I mean it depends on your propensity or your capacity to make currency. For myself, the amount of time that I would spend, you know, just doing 250 chance scours, I certainly could make much more money than that. 1538. I could make much more money than that by other means, right? So at that time, I didn't do a ton of them, but I think I did like probably 10 Omen of Fortunes just to move it along. So yeah, as you can see here, we're getting kind of 1449 bugger. We're not getting. I want to say we're getting boned, but Jesus Christ. Keep in mind every time that we've turned one of these in. All right, so now we're gonna use divines and see how many it takes. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, so it took 14 divs. So there's my point proven, I think, with respect to the why you want to get those greeds. The divines are not terribly important for myself. I just really wanted to illustrate the, you know, if you have, like, let's say we had chanced every single one of these at once, right? So we have, what is that, 8, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So we would have had 24 chests ready, right? Just going around like this, like searching 15%. And then just going boom, 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 boom until they highlight. It always seems like it always feels a little bit less taxing. Now, in reality, is it? No, probably not. But yeah, it's again, you know, the margins on these are pretty fucking nutty. So it's not something that we are overly stressed about. Both of these chests here are ones that do not have 6 sockets on them. That is one thing, actually. If you do the recipe, it will remove the sockets. I actually want to confirm that first. So if you are going to use divine orbs, it's best to use those on ones that are not to 6 socket already. It's a very small difference, though. I mean, jeweler's orbs are incredibly cheap. It is important, though, that you you do 6 socket beforehand. Some of you might be curious as to why did I even bother doing that. It's a couple of reasons. Number one, if it goes 6 white and you don't have 6 sockets, then obviously that is completely useless. And you're losing one of the benefits that can be given from, well, quote unquote benefits that can be given by the locus of corruption. And number two, and this is really the more important element, if you do end up hitting something reasonably good, not even reasonably good, but it just doesn't brick, right? If you have the 6 socket there ahead of time, as we discussed earlier at that PowerPoint stage, right? You can just do the 4 link and then the double tainted fuse, and you can sell, even the worst one will sell for 3 divines, 2 to 3 divines, right? And that makes sense to do when you've already got the 6 socket on there. Now, if you have just like a 2 socket or a 3 socket, and you have to pay 350 jeweler's orbs plus 350 divines, or sorry, 350 balls, right? The ball cost alone will exceed the sale price of any chest that doesn't have implicits on it. So it becomes kind of a moot point. But even the ones that are good too, it adds 350 balls is like 2.5 divines plus the jewelers, and then you still have to do the 6 linking afterwards. Given the fact that you can, with proper preparation, you can, make sure that is not an issue for what amounts to like 10 chaos ahead of time. It's, even though it's kind of, I want to say taxing, but one of those little friction irritances, it's definitely better to do it ahead of time. Oh, there we go. Got one. Item level 2. There you go. So I don't know how many that took. I wasn't counting there, but as you can see, it didn't take too long. And obviously, when you get into a rhythm and just doing those relatively quickly, the time can go by pretty quick. All right, let's see. Do we have any more? Yeah, we got a couple here. Let's see if we can kind of pseudo-divine these ahead of time. 1, 2, 3. 1348. 1347. 1446. 1137. All right, let's count them up, boys. 1, 2. Hey, only 2 that time. All right, all right, all right. So we got to put a chant on this bad boy. Lightning res. And then what else? Oh yeah, well you can see. Sorry, here's some of the chests I was mentioning too. Like these ones right here, where it just goes white sockets, right? You can see these are all a couple divines each. Then we've got some here that are ES, Life ES, blah blah blah. Not fantastic rolls, but those will obviously certainly can still sell. But again, it's not going to be worthwhile if you haven't 6-socketed them prior to beginning. Another thing as well, I might make a separate video for this. Just you know, I know that often when I make these kinds of videos where I specifically focus on a certain item, in this case it's greeds, people tend to kind of hyper focus on that item itself and not really take in what I'm saying in a more symbolic nature. As always, the purpose here is to show like the line of thinking, and this is more for demonstrative sake. This actually, greeds itself is very good because so many people are playing MF. I don't think that many of you will have, if anyone watching takes the time to you know, go out and do this, I don't actually think, you know, the market on the double corrupted ones will probably drop somewhat. But again, as we talked about, the mathematical margins are 260 divines with a you know, 1,000 divine return, and that's on the 1 in 40 by itself, right? Plus all the other ones. So you got a pretty big window for profit there. But there are other things as well, and I do want to stress that. So you can see here we've got the Squire. The Squire similarly can benefit from low level. If you make a shield item level 2, which is easy to do with the Squire, you can just turn this in on our other character. In fact, I'll just do that right now. All right. So we make a an homage character to the 45% of the Koreans that mirror my items at 4 in the morning EST on their level 12 unascended witches. It's the craziest thing. Every single one of their friends is always 10 minutes away. What a phenomenon. All right. Ripping aside here. Okay, Squire. As you can see, item level 2. Item level 2. Now you might be asking, Belton, why are you getting the Squire cards? You know, the Squire is not popular at all this league. And they're super cheap. And this is true. See, they're only 2 divs each. You get 8%. 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. Okay. All right. So what do we get here? 8, 4, 8, 5, 8, 3, 8, 3, 8, 5, 8, 3, 8, 3, 5. All right, not too bad. And yeah, talking about these, the reason why, just again, this is not something specifically that I'm advocating anyone necessarily go out and do, but just to demonstrate that there are a variety of options in the same line of thinking that we're discussing here. You can see with Vol implicits on an item level 1 shield, the only options are block, spell damage, ES%, life %, +1 gems, and chance to block. So with a Squire, naturally having the option to get the +1 gems is quite appealing, especially when it's a 40%. Let's see what that is here. Yeah, look at that, 70 divines, and that's not for a double corrupt. Look at that, 400 divines. 1 mirror. Reason. This one has the lowest roll on the quality, and it only has the single corruption. So I think that it's probably the real value is probably somewhere in between there. But you know, for a 2 divine shield, being able to, and the cards are in line with that price too. The cards are like 50 chaos each. There's 8 of them. So yeah, that's there's another option there. And another thing that I've been picking up too, you know, some of you who watch the live stream may have noticed that I hover over. I know my tabs are disgustingly disorganized, but might have seen me hover over this tab at some times on the odd occasion. I picked up all of these replica shrouds for 20 chaos earlier on. Oh, they're up to a div each. 10-1, baby. But just because I've had so many abyssal jewels, I was thinking that maybe at some point I might do you know, some kind of abyssal or abyss jewel stacking build, both with the adorned and also on the gear themselves, or the gear straight up rather. I don't have any, you know, data to indicate that this would be, you know, very much stronger or you know, meta defining or anything like that. I know people always, the second someone mentions something even slightly intriguing, yo, send me the PoE, bro. But, so, I know I don't have anything to share in that light, but are these always 2-socket? Looks like they're always 2-socket. Can you divine those away? No, it's always 2. Well, it's something we might look at a little bit later too. But yeah, I was thinking about turning these in. I'm not sure if it's possible to get the 3 sockets with the div card turn in, but as you can see that they're, you know, they start off at 30 divs. If it is possible, these cards are like 15 chaos each, and there's 6 of them for a set. If you can get the 3 abyssal sockets and you make it item level 2, similar to the greeds, right? You can get +1 gems and you can get 50% damage. You know, rather easily because of the item level restricting, and in particular if you have 3 abyssal sockets on here, the 50% damage is going to be substantially better than pretty much any other implicit, because obviously there's a you know, a lower lower value to the gem level corruptions when there are less traditional gems. But yeah, anyways, the other way that I'm going to demonstrate what we were just talking about, and this one's pretty cool. I was just sort of looking on that MF sort of tip. I've actually been, you know, fiddling around. I haven't actually been killing mobs. You know, I know somebody in chat's going to call me out for being a pedantic sake, but I have been fiddling around with different MF gear crafting wise. So you can see I've got the, you know, the 60% lion pelt I-85 there. That's pretty nifty. We got that really sick venters. You can see here I've been crafting some of these double rarity. You can get 25% rarity if you're using the adorned on these different jewels here. With the proper corruption, you can actually get 12% RMR and 25% rarity, plus 2 other corrupted, or 2 other either synth or corrupted implicits on top of that. So, you know, that's something that might tinker with as well there. But in the process of doing that, I was looking, you know, greeds being so lucrative, I was looking for some other opportunities. And I did notice that if you go take a look at Goldwyrms with 10% movement speed, you know, they start off at 25 divines with a single implicit, right? And then if we go to 2 implicits, 200 divs, bare minimum 200 divs with just the 10% movement speed. So why don't we pop over to our nifty little Craft of Exile again. Obviously, this got me thinking. I wonder if there are any mods that we can... Oh my god, I haven't had screen capture on this whole time. I'm so sorry. Yikes. Sorry, guys. Anyway, sorry. Here's Goldwyrm's 200 divs. What else was I trying to show you guys? Oh, man. The Squire. Shit, sorry about that, boys. I didn't realize I didn't have screen capture on. Well, hopefully it's okay to follow along. If anyone's lost and wants me to clarify, just leave a comment below, and I'll respond to each comment. That was certainly my mistake there. Anyways, yeah, greeds. Or sorry, Goldwyrms. If we take a look down here at the vol implicits on Goldwyrms, if we item level restrict these, whoop. Right, so if we see item level 1, 1, 1, and 1, there are actually ones that have tiers too, so let's just do it through this. So it's now item level 2. Here we go. You can see that the only options are +1 gems, movement speed, life, ES%, and then evasion and armor while stationary. So there's only 6 options. The movement speed being half the weighting of the other ones, so it's a 1 in 11 corruption. If you ever want to find out what that is, the easiest way, the way that I find it easiest, you just go to emulator, start a new project, right? Pick any random boot base, go to item level 2, proceed, then go to simulator, restart, yes, use emulator settings, locus of corruption, fixed, restart. Go 50,000 simulations. 4.6, so 1 in 22. That makes sense, right? So 1 in every 22, you'll get that move speed roll there. Like right there, that +1 gems. These are worth like a mirror. As we look though, the only and any single roll, like any roll period, is worth like movement speed plus anything else at a bare minimum is 200 divs. The ones that have the +1 gems and the life percent would be worth substantially more. It is actually, there's one caveat to that. It can roll 8 to, it rolls 8 to 10%. So yeah, Trapper Mines is useless. So yeah, you can see it's still 55 divs, 200, 400, 490. This guy's got 22 mirrors. I think that's a little lofty, but hey, do your thing, boo. The flasks, as ever, continue to sell. The gold flasks, if you guys recall from one of the previous videos, right? It's been like a week. They're back up to 2 divs. You know, again, pretty much anything that I advise and a lot of people. Now, it's important to vet the sources of information that you get. Not everybody who gives advice in PoE should really be giving advice. You know, in my opinion, my humble opinion. But for the most part, most people obviously are doing so from a place of, you know, concern and collective benefit. And I think that this is sort of a ubiquitous issue with anyone that makes content, right? People watch it. A lot of people go out and do it. It's like if somebody told you that they bought Apple stock in 1985 and it's 2024 and you go buy Apple stock today and then you go and yell at that dude because, you know, you didn't make like 600x. Like, bro, where my stock splits at, right? Like, sure, you might feel like you're justified in your anger, but, you know, to anyone that's surrounding you, you know, you seem stupid. So do keep in mind, of course, that, you know, with anything, if there's a lot of eyes on something, right, the demand is going to go up. The supply is either going to stay static or potentially even drop. And that'll create a surge market. But as demonstrated with that flask there, you know, they can circle around pretty quickly. Anyways, getting back to the Goldwyrms. So you can see here, I have an entire tab. Well, not an entire tab, but half a tab here item level 2 Goldwyrms that are 20 quantity. Now, this is actually one where we can take advantage of ancient orbs. So if we take a look here, boots, let's make it item level 2. You can see that there are only 20 pairs of boots that can be anciented, I don't know if that's the right word, but that ancient orbs can work on when they're item level 2, and Goldwyrms are one of them. And luckily for us, again, they are tier 4, so they're quite common. And you'll see here that it actually only takes 21 ancient orbs on average. So that means that our objective then from the onset would be to get a bunch of pairs of item level 2 boots. There are a variety of different ways you can do this. The easiest way I found was there is I forget the name of the set, but a card set that gives you a Chavron item. And the vast majority of the time, it'll give you Chavron's Pace, which are the boots. All right, so you can see item level 2. And then all you do is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. There we go. There's a Goldwyrm. Go. There are 5 Goldwyrms. As you can see, this is substantially faster than the other method. Now, in the case here, I actually, you can do the same thing for these as we did with the greeds, with, just buy a bunch of pairs of, like regular any item level Goldwyrms, and then trade them in to try and get the 20 quantities, right? Ancient orbs are not particularly expensive, though. And I think just for a time efficiency's sake, it's almost better to just, like, if it doesn't roll 20%, because if it's not 20%, you're pretty much not, I don't want to say you're fully fucked, but it's more or less got to be 20%. So, I mean, you can divine these if you want, but it's a 1 in 7 divine, right? So it's really not going to be worthwhile. Obviously, a 20 quality, even though it is, obviously, none of the ones on the market are going to be item level 2. The 20 quality is certainly not worth 7 divines. So, if you get hundreds and hundreds of pairs of higher level Goldwyrms, maybe you're an MFer and have a ton of them lying around, that is something that you could do potentially. But if not, you can always just use more ancient orbs to get them back. And another thing you could do as well, so let's say you do end up going the route, let's try and get one of these into a rare here. Figures. What the flying fuck? There we go. All right. So once you get a rare like this, you could do the same thing with the boot there. We can, the same thing we did with the greeds, right? So you can take the boot base here, get some other new buck boots. And then we get the item level 2 base clean like that, right? So that's an option there as well. And then you can get a clean item level 2. And if you do get one of those... another way that we can go about this too, and this is obviously a little bit higher risk here, because you don't have control, obviously, over the roll that happens afterwards. But because they are so common, using a mythic orb is actually a reasonably reliable way to get them. And I had screen capture on that whole time again. I am so sorry, guys. I was in the zone there. Fuck. What was I covering there? Yeah, anyways, all I was doing, I had a sling of boots there, guys. I just had a little square of boots here. There was like 10 or 15 boots. I just ancient orbed them. I'm really sorry. Here, let's put transform, hit to screen. I normally have screen capture on in perpetuity. Like I just play the game with screen capture. And so when I tab through like this, it just normally naturally happens. Because I had that slideshow up, I use screen capture to capture the slideshow. I keep forgetting that that's on, and then I'm focusing on the game. I recognize that that probably took away from it for many of you, and I am sorry. But yeah, so we ancient orbed here on these level 2 boots. Got a few of these Goldwyrms, right? And then once you get the rare ones like this, you can then take a few other rares, similar to what we were doing with the greeds, right? Right. Item level 2. And then we get a couple new pairs there. And as I was saying, one of the things that is an option with these, it is again a lot more dire straits. But funnily enough, we did just hit this. I'm not sure if that showed through the screen or not, but I had about 10 pairs of them on the bottom here, and of course we ended up corrupting 10% movement speed on one of them, and the mythic orb ended up hitting that one. So unfortunately it hit the 19 quantity, but I bet you that still has some value to it. 1 div, 19, 3 div. So yeah, not breaking the bank there by any means, but that is an option as well, especially for those of you. I know often I get some people ask for, you know, more budget-friendly strategies. If you're someone who you know, wants to get just some MF gear off the go, you don't really have a ton of cash. Like here, we can just go 1, 2, boop, boop, boop. Wow, all 6 of those bricked. That's unusual. Here, let's see. What's the PoE ladder / mythic? I believe it's 40%. Boots. Yeah, it's 41%. So we just got unlucky there. 6 times in a row. What is that? So 60% chance to fail. So 0.6, so 36, 24, 25, 18. Like a 7%. There's like a over 90% chance that we would have hit it there. But nonetheless, anyways, point is proven. This really is kind of just vamping now. All I really wanted to demonstrate was that the tech or the strategy that we discussed initially with the Greed's Embrace can be used on a variety of different things. Now, there's obviously, you know, some nuance to it. Of course, with the Greeds, as we discussed earlier, there's not the option to use the Ancient Orbs because it does have that requirement, the minimum item level. However, that is not the case for these Goldwyrms, right? So you can just use the Ancients there, and that makes that obviously a hell of a lot quicker, not to mention you don't have to worry about enchants and all that kind of stuff. But the big ticket item, guys, and the one that I did make 7 mirrors in 3 days off of, was these Greeds here. So that is definitely something I suggest taking a look at. Again, I would aim for the 15 quantity as a must. It must have 15 quantity. I really suggest going at least 40. I have sold ones that were under 40 rarity, but they took a lot longer, and I believe they sold for significantly less. In fact, actually, we can just look right here. Okay, so we had 1549, 1541, 1548, 1542, 1540. There we go, yeah, 1532. We can see this one was 560 divines, as opposed to the other ones at the minimum were a mirror, right, which is 920. So that's almost a, what, 400 divine loss for 8 rarity being the difference there, right? So even though it can have obviously, you know, maybe not necessarily an upfront cost because the you know, the chests, it might just be more a matter of time. You can just do it like this, right? Buying the chests like this, they are they're like 2 chaos each, so it's really more a frustration matter than it is one of actual raw currency. But that being said, the only exhaustible resource in temporary leagues is time, right? So time is the most valuable currency that you have in the game. But yeah, that was really what I wanted to discuss with you guys today. Sorry, I realized the end there kind of dragged on a little bit. Just for some updates with what's going on with me outside of what we were just talking about there. I've made some cool stuff over the past few days. I might make a separate video for it. funnily enough, right? So this is actually kind of jokes, right? You guys remember I made this video on the like 7 mirrors we spent making this jewel for the Adorned, right? It's on the Murderous Eye jewel. We got the attack speed with bows, crit multi, attack speed with onslaught, and after 120 locks, we ended up getting damage percent. Well, lo and behold, I get another one of these bases with attack and cast speed during onslaught. After 5 imprints, I hit attack speed with bows and crit multi. So I go ahead and I put 40% or 40 life and 12 multi on there. And wouldn't you know it, we hit the exact same goddamn corruption. Although we did get the higher roll of 5%. So we now have 2 of basically the exact same jewel. 5% damage, crit multi with bows, attack and cast speed during onslaught, 12% multi and 40 life. We got that with that 150% adorned there, right? So you can see there 3,300 life by putting on these 2 jewels. I get 400 life and 384. Oof, 120, almost 50% of our tooltip. It's pretty crazy. What else did we get? We also got a couple one passive voices, which are all the way up to 2 mirrors each now. Pretty nuts. You can see we're rocking a couple of those though. I swapped over the Forbidden Flesh and Flame, which is just absurd to me how expensive these are. But you know, there's about 400 divs there. That which was taken that we picked up early on continues to you can see 8 mirrors right there. Continues to do well. And as well, this is sort of one of those sleeper picks, I suppose, but the suppression, T1 suppression and skill that fires additional projectile. I paid 120 divines for this a couple weeks ago, and I have been messaged probably a dozen times by people trying to buy this for 2 mirrors over the past day and a half. So that's great. And we've got the overkill, overkill with leech, and the perfect 25% elemental avoidance while phasing. Some other crafts that you might be interested in. We crafted a perfect amulet here. I'll probably do a dedicated video covering some of the mirror crafts that I made, because there are actually a couple of them. But we made a perfect focused amulet here with quantity, proj speed, proj damage, which ends up being 99% damage for us, as well as penetration. We picked up a new Venters, one of the best ones in the league, actually. 57 life, 10 quantity, 40 rarity, 58 fire, 52 cold, 46 lightning. Pretty fire. I know the people in my community section on YouTube were making fun of me for having such a good MF piece that I will almost certainly never actually MF with. But as is life. We also made these boots here. You can see we got T1 life, T1 armored evasion, move speed if you haven't been hit recently, the fractured abyssal socket, T1 avoidance, T1 chaos res, and then 6% action, exquisite, and exquisite ailments, which are both perfect. And we also put the gilded fossil in there. So because eldritch items are rarely, if ever, with the exception perhaps of like grasping mails and some helmets, rarely if ever actually mirrored, because it's, generally speaking, cheaper to just make them yourself. You know, there's pretty low prospect for us to actually get this mirrored at any point. So it does actually kind of make sense to put on a corrupted implicit there in lieu of the gilded fossil. The drawback to doing so on a standard mirror item would obviously be the fact it can't be mirrored anymore, but I think it's rather unlikely that this actually gets mirrored. As I mentioned, I was thinking about perhaps doing an abyss jewel kind of focus build at some point. So for the 2 of the items I crafted, which is the gloves and the boots, as you can see, I put abyss sockets on there just in case. But also, I mean, they're quite strong as well. You can see in this abyss socket here, we've got, what's that, 8% attack speed, 16 multi, or sorry, 16 attack speed, 16 multi, and then tier 1 flat lightning and tier 1 flat fizz. Obviously, that is substantially better than a single suffix. And I also made these today. These gloves were actually rather funny. I saw somebody had listed gripped gloves, which is a high base, item level 85, so that it's still possible to get the suppression. And I think there's another mod that I'm blanking on right now that needs 85, but I digress. And it had lightning, so it had the temple mod, but it had lightning, so increased chance to crit on enemies that you've shocked recently. And it also had like 22 cold res. So I bought them, and then I changed the cold res to fire res, and then that allowed me to go to the hoarder crafting station and change the temple res to the cold res, which is obviously the high ticket one. And on the very first one, it actually went to 50% damage against chilled enemies. But not only that, it also went to the perfect cold res. So the 48 out of 48. So naturally, I went and bought a fractured orb. And lo and behold, we hit it on the first try. So that was kind of funny. But that explains, as you can see here, I've got the Abyssal Socket, the T1 attack speed, T1 life, but the implicits and all this, it's sort of haphazardly thrown together just because it was, somewhat shocking. Not shocking, but unexpected. It was rather lucky. What else did we do? I made the best and the only double charge ring in the league. I'm not sure if I covered that in the video yet. +1 frenzy charge, +1 power, spell damage per power charge. We made the T1 crit multi. Actually, I think I did cover that already. The T1 multi, life gain on hit frenzy. I've got a couple new bases that we're working on. You can see here I've got 7% strength, grace aura effect, determination aura effect. As well, I picked up a armor is increased by overcap fire res grasping mail. Made sure it's item level 84 so that you can get those T1 resistances. 86 would have been better, but I didn't want to have a fractured mod, and most of the 86 ones are fractured. What else have we got there? We got the 7% strength and int with discipline, 7% int, crit multi, and frenzy. Dex percent, I believe that's T3 crit multi and frenzy. T1 crit multi ring. I got that lion pelt, as I pointed out, the I-85 with the magic. Janus mod there. Of course, we just turned in a bunch of those squires, which I'll be double corrupting soon. We've got the hubris here that's got the +1 aura and the 92 RMR, so we got to roll that. Traditionally, you'd get a 15% aura effect in lieu of the quality of socketed dexterity gems there. Am I missing anything? Oh, and of course, as you can see here, I've been pretty heavily going into these triple synth ring jewels. Since I do have the 2/1 passive voices and the adorned. Those three things by themselves are 5 mirrors, right? Two mirrors each for the voices and 1 for the adorned. And then the 2 jewels, the magic jewels that I have cost me accumulatively 10 mirrors themselves. So I've got 15 mirrors of jewels. I might as well fucking, I might as well invest into the product thereafter, so to speak. So yeah, that's mostly what I've been up to. I've got a bunch of other bases here. You can see I've got a triple tier 1 2-handed axe. I don't often make mistakes. I'm not gonna lie, this was one of them. I saw somebody post this, and like I immediately, I was smoking a cigarette, looking on my phone on synth items, and because I'm super cool, that's what I do on my phone when I'm smoking. And I saw the triple tier 1, so tier 1 attack speed, tier 1 fizz, tier 1 fizz. I haven't played with a 2-handed melee weapon in like 8 years, and a noble axe looks the exact same as a despot axe. And so I messaged the guy from my phone and I ran inside and bought it right away. And then I realized like 5 minutes later that it was a noble axe. So I never actually went any further with it. Funnily enough, though, I could actually, if I temper this properly, I could actually still make this the best 2-handed weapon in the league. I actually ended up spending about 7 mirrors on this. I was trying to make a strength stacking wand. As you can see here, I've got T1 attack speed, spell damage per 16 strength, and then we also have the T1 fizz percent. The reason that I had that there is because if we rolled T1 flat fizz and it replaced the spell damage per 16 strength, it would be a perfect fizz wand, of which there was not a perfect one available. And conversely, if we hit the 2 to 4 fire damage per 10 strength and that replaced the fizz damage, we'd have a perfect strength stacking wand. At the time, which also did not exist. So it gave me more outs essentially. I used like over 1,000 vultures and probably 600 or 700 crate chicks on this. Spent a few days on that. Yesterday I came back to the game after taking like a 3-day break, or a 3 or 4 day break, and when I came back I saw on Sushi's shop that they had finished one of these. So I might make it a fizz wand at some point, but for now that project's on hold. Yeah, nothing else really to speak of there. I think we covered it all. Oh, here's an interesting thing as well. I might do another video on this, just because it points out how inefficient the market is at times. If you guys take a look at, if you're playing a bow build, 12 passive I-84 bow large clusters are like, I don't even know how much they are now. Let's take a look. They're 38 divines each. 38 divs, just for the base. If you use a 12 passive I-84 two-handed weapon jewel, and you can get literally the exact same mods on it, and these cost 150 chaos. The only difference is that you get 12% increased damage with two-handed weapons, and if we look at the bow base, it's 12% increased damage with bows and 12% increased damage over time with bow skills. If you were playing TS or LA, though, you're not going to have damage over time, so you can literally get the same mods. You can see here, you get 35% fracture, 3% attack speed, you can get T1 life, whatever it is. So I've been making quite a few of these. I also found this very funny, that you can get these like 35% increased effect with 3% attack speed. You can get these for like 5 to 8 divs. As you can see, I've got like 10 of them. You can then do a fracture once you put 4 mods on it, Regal, Exalt. Do a fracture, so it's a 50-50, right? Because either fracturing 3% attack speed or 35% increased effect will be a hit, so to speak. And you can see here, I think this guy is not a real listing, because I've sold most of them around 120 divs each for the 35% increased effect. Take a look at the and pretty much same price, 112 divines for the hey, look, there's one of my guildmates. 112 divines for the attack speed. Now that means that you know, if you were to do it, it means that 1 every 2 times you'll hit it, right? So that means 2 fracturing orbs, 60 divs, and 2 bases. As I mentioned, they're like 5 to 8 divs each. Let's say on the high end, 8, 16 divs. That means that you're spending 76 divs, getting 125 back on average, and that's without rolling them, right? That's simply just for the fracture. As well, picking these up, they're rather abundant. It's no difficulty in getting them, right? So we just go there, fractured. Fractured, no. Yeah, see, there we go. 8 divines, right? So you just go ahead, buy one of those. Another one, 8 divines. 50-50 to fracture those. Cost you, as we said, what, 76 divs on average, 120 divs back, 45 divs, quick profit. But even if you're not doing it for profit, if you're just playing Omni, or if you're playing a bow build and you're using a large cluster, there's literally no difference, right? You can set 35% increased effect, 3% attack speed, 10% life or 4% damage, or sorry, 10 to flat life or 4% damage for the prefix, and then your suffix, you can still get the chaos, res, strength, int, dex, what else do people use? All res, all the options are the exact same, and most of the notables are the same as well. That being said, on a 12 passive jewel, you're almost never going to be looking for notables. So as I presume many of you are probably playing bow builds, and I know just based on the comments, it might be the more vocal minority, but a lot of you do often express some frustration with the cost of things, or you know, feeling like you're lagging behind. There's a way that you can pick up some currency there, both to generating and you know, saving yourself some money as well. So what's coming up ahead for me here, guys? I realized for the last like 30 minutes I kind of been going off the tangent. I know it's been about a week, maybe a week and a half since I released a video, so I just wanted to cover a few different things here, and I feel like we're kind of at the point now that more or less, how long is it? Oh, hour and 8 minutes, classic. Yeah, after the blunder of not realizing my screen capture was off and whatnot, might as well just cover all our bases here. I have been eagerly looking forward to this. I did make a post about this in my my community section on YouTube, and it's a pretty big thing for me. Last year, so last January, almost exactly a year ago, was when I started regularly posting YouTube videos. I started doing that as a result of being banned from Twitch, not because of anything that I did. And I'm not saying that like as a pulling the victim card thing. Like, Twitch literally admitted that people were spamming porn in my chat. People that whose initials may stand for tier fucking 2, but we'll talk about that another time. In any case, I was a little upset because, you know, the community side of streaming and like playing with people, and you know, when you have that, it's very difficult to have it taken away. in particular when you're building momentum and stuff like that. And then to have, to say that you're permabanned was obviously a little bit not overwhelming, but disheartening, right? So I started posting YouTube videos, and like in the first like month or two, I got like 9,000 subscribers, which was like an entire paradigm shift for me, right? Like whole new invigorated sense of, and purpose within the game. And frankly, it just like I'm a pretty prideful guy in general. I think that is one of my flaws. But I played PoE for a very long time, and one of the things that's always kind of nagged on me, I think, was like not that I didn't get recognition, but like things like people being like, "Oh, is Belton the TFT guy, or is he the guy that did this or this or this?" And I never really felt like I was getting a fair shake or being held up to the measure of my merit necessarily. So you know, to recognize and to realize that like the stuff that I talk about resonated with so many people was outside of the game itself was actually super meaningful to me as a human being, not just as a gamer. So, I know I've said this recently, but for those of you that have been along on that journey with me, thank you very much. And yeah, as I said, it's approaching a year now. It was the end of January of last year. And as like a lofty, like sort of like shot in the sky kind of goal for myself, because I if you've ever watched me play the game or just in general, I like to set concrete goals. Generally like to try and push myself with those two, otherwise I lose interest. And 20,000 subscribers was this big lofty ambitious goal that I set for myself, something that I really couldn't even fathom at the time, in particular because my Twitch has like I think like 17,000 or 18,000 followers, and I've had that for like 9 years, right? This is a channel that's only a year old. Now, obviously, I recognize that YouTube is a larger platform, but obviously, I was naive at this time. As you can see here, anyways, getting to the point, since I'm dragging on, we're about to hit 20,000 subs, 19,777. I had all kind of but not given up, but it wasn't something I really actively thought about, because just like a month ago, I was at like 16,000 subscribers. As you can see here, we've had 3,601 subs in the past 28 days, which is just nuts. I released a series or a string of videos there that, by the look of things, seem to resonate with a lot of you, which is awesome. And of course, I'm very glad about that. And so I've been kind of looking for a way to kind of celebrate that, because I think it's important to mark those milestones. And they're few and far between for me these days in PoE. With this segue, what I wanted to bring up here, I've been planning to spend 20,000 divines as a celebration in a video for hitting 20,000 subscribers. Not to be too presumptuous, but I suspect after this video, it'll probably be sometime in the next couple of days. If things follow the same pattern. And so what I wanted to propose to you guys was, you're the ones who got me here. And again, at the end of the day, the content that I make, I already know all the stuff that's in my head, right? So it is for you guys. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. And I'm open to whatever you guys want. 20,000 divines. Do you want me to gamble House of Mirrors? Do you want me to use Vol Orbs on a mirror item and get like an actual perfect mirror item? Do you want me to craft like the best? I have the best quiver base in the game on standard, for example. I can craft the best quiver to ever exist in PoE. But anyways, yeah, over the past week or week and a half, I've been kind of gathering up currency just so that when this happened, I would have 20,000 divines ready, one divine for each of the homies. Jobless. And yeah, so I'll put that in your guys' hands. If you want to leave a comment below, and if you see somebody else's comment, think it's a good idea, maybe give them an upvote, or just kind of co-sign it, because I've always got lots of ideas going, but sometimes it's a hit or a miss on my side. So just as a sign of appreciation on my part, and just a way to mark what for me is a pretty monumental occasion. So I apologize for the break over the past week or so. I know I haven't. I know I posted four videos very quick succession, and then I needed a little bit of a break. Sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. Running the guild and the Discord and the YouTube and the stream, and also looking for the market, and they're doing the mirror crafting and the sales and blah blah blah. It's just a lot on the plate sometimes. So I tend to do things in like little bursts, right? So I'll release like 5 videos in a 2-day span, and then I'll do like 5 mirror crafts the next 2 days, and then I tend to batch things like that. So apologies if anyone is just coming in and they're newer to the channel and it seemed like radio silence, and hopefully what we covered today can be of use for you guys. I actually do have about 4 or 5 video ideas in my head. I kind of dabbled in towards a few of them at the end there, but by and large, I just kind of really wanted to check in with you guys, let you know what I've been doing to make some currency. I actually think that the thing we discussed today with the being able to infinitely split bases and get new ones as a way to generate item level restricting, in particular with greeds, since they are a mirror plus item every time. I like, I realize that the tech for it is rather rudimentary and not very shiny or not very glamorous or anything, but I assure you this is exceptional. There was not a single day while I was actively doing this where I did not make a sale of an item that was at least 1 mirror, right? And to have something that just feeds you a mirror every day with a very high degree of regularity is pretty nuts, even in this league. So I do highly suggest checking that out. And as always, I encourage you guys to check out, try different, like branch out on different things, right? It doesn't have to be greeds. You can do lightning coil or Goldwyrms or the squires or whatever it might be, right? I know the markets tend to surge with the renewed interest, so do be cautious of that. And I'm looking forward to reading your guys' replies on the 20,000 subs, and hopefully we can have a cool little celebration craft, maybe make something neat, or gamble something away, a lot of things away, or perhaps make something that's one of a kind, right, with the Volorb and Hinakora's lock combo on standard or something like that. I'm up for anything. God bless, guys. Sorry again about the screen capture issue. I know it probably took away from the viewing experience for some of you guys, but I hope it was still helpful. And again, if obviously I'm recording this live, so I'm not sure exactly what parts were covered, but if there's anything that you missed and you want some clarification, I read all the comments and I'll reply to those if I overlooked anything there with the screen. All right. I'll see you guys probably in the next day or two with another video. Thank you so much for the support again over the past year, guys. Looking forward, and we'll see you at 20K. Bless. Peace.